We all have to start somewhere. So if you're a brokerage owner and maybe you just started your brokerage, or maybe you've been at it a while and you're thinking, oh, well, now I want to start hiring some agents. If you've never had your first hire ever, it's like, how do you do that? And I've had this question from a few people, so that's why I thought I would make this video. And so I actually love this subject because it's so fun. I've grown 2 big brokerages in 2 totally different markets. And so I had to do it twice. I had to start where nobody knew me. I didn't have a track record and, kind of just figure everything out. And it's hard sometimes because you'll talk to people. Sometimes you get those ups at bat, but then they'll say, well, I'm just too nervous. Maybe when you get your stuff figured out and you're a little further along, I could think about it then. But people are just afraid to take a chance on you because you just don't have a track record. They haven't been able to see some results. They know that they're going to be your first hire. And sometimes people are nervous about that. Usually what I find is that it's a lack of confidence on your part. And so you have to first off really, be gentle with yourself and try to dig up some confidence. This is a lot like a new agent that maybe has their first buyer, goes on their first listing appointment. I remember mine. And I didn't know what I was doing, and I knew I didn't know what I was doing. And so it's hard to feel confident, right? Some people call it imposter syndrome, where you're sort of like, okay, I know all the things I don't know. And so you intimidate yourself. Well, here's how you deal with that as a new broker. What you need to do is you need to remember that you plan to provide a really good home for these agents. And that's how I got past that with my buyers and sellers, by the way. I convinced myself that I was going to do such a good job. I was going to take such good care of them. I was going to communicate clearly, promptly, and just provide them with the best service that I knew how to provide. And so when you know that inside yourself, you can build some confidence based on that. And I think that's one of the best places to start. So for you, I want you to think about, what are you going to provide? Are you going to give this agent a good home? Are you going to give them great training? What kind of resources are you going to provide? You know where your heart is, and you know what your intentions are. So you need to dig deep and remember that as you're talking to people. Try not to get intimidated, but remember that it's going to be a privilege to be part of your team. And you don't ever come out that with ego, by the way, but just confidence, just like it's going to be a privilege to be part of your team, to be part of this culture and this family you're creating. You see the vision of how great it's going to be. And until you can see that and be able to articulate that, you'll never be able to sell it to someone else. So that's kind of the number one thing, is you got to work on your confidence. And that's kind of how to do it. That's how I overcame it. Now, the number 2 thing is you got to target the right kind of agent. So I would say your best chance is either a brand new agent who just passed their test and is interviewing, brokerages, or someone who's been at it for 6 months to a year or so, is at another company and isn't really doing very well. Because that's where people, for sure that, one of them's either going to wash out of the business and not make it at all, or they're going to make a move. And the first broker who just got their license has to hang their license somewhere, right? So you're not going after people that don't have to move. This is someone who needs to be at a different brokerage. And so how you convince them to come join you is you need to realize that you're at a very special moment in your brokerage. You're probably still in production. I would imagine you don't have a bunch of agents that are, paying your bills. So while you're in production, I want you to think about this experience you can create for that agent, especially a newer agent. And I think that's why that's the best place to target. Because what those new agents need is they need mentoring and they need hand-holding, and they're so scared of all the things they don't know. And so what happens is if you can say, you know what, you get to shadow me. You'll listen to me make my phone calls to leads and see how I talk to them, how I convert them. I'll answer your questions. We can sit down and write contracts together. I'll take you on my listing appointments with me. I will take you out showing houses with buyers. I'm going to show you the right way, and not just like textbook stuff, but real world stuff. They will eat that up. I promise you, you would totally be able to get an agent if you are able to confidently tell them how great that's going to be. And so everything comes down to you have to set yourself apart from where your competition is. So they're going and interviewing at the big brokerages and they're telling them they have all this amazing training, but it's not training like you can give them. We know that. The brokerage owner that's so successful in the field that you've started your own brokerage and you plan to grow this big team, imagine the level of training and handholding and mentoring you can give them. That's what you've got to really sell them on, that vision of what they're going to get. And you have to tell them, as my team continues to grow, know, I won't be able to do this with everybody. This is a special thing that probably like the first 3 agents that sign up with me are going to get a whole different level of training. And I want to tell you a story. So my brother, when I started my second brokerage, he came and he just lost his job. So I started this second brokerage and I just moved here. I didn't know anybody except my family. And he decided to come from a blue collar background and get into real estate. And he just took off like a rocket. And it was because I was there every step of the way. Every phone call, email, text he was going to send, we went through that. Now he's making over $300,000 a year. He's super successful. He's super happy. And he's a great agent. He has the best reviews. He's one of the top rated agents in our whole area. So if you use my story, that's great. Use my story, because that's one of the things, it gets easier over time because you have more stories to tell. And so you have more, a track record of success, but you can tell them that. It's like having testimonials on your website and having reviews. It's like that. And in the beginning, you're starting from a dead stop where you don't have that. It's kind of like in a brand new agent who has no leads, and they don't have any confidence and all those things. You're doing the same thing. It's just sometimes it's surprising how it's kind of hard and you think, oh, it's going to be easy. I'm going to give them a great split or whatever, and they should just come over and join me in droves. Then you'll be surprised that they don't. And so this is why. And so you just don't have the polish yet. It's like anything, you get better at it the more you do it. So the more interviews you have, I don't hire anymore, by the way. I'm not growing my brokerage anymore. But when I did towards the end, I got 9 out of 10 people that sat in front of me. You won't get them all. So I couldn't get 10 out of 10, but 9 out of 10. And that's because I got better at it. I hired, hundreds of agents. And so I knew what I was doing and I knew what to say and I knew how to have those conversations and have those interviews. So I promise you, you'll get better at it over time. But this first hire is sometimes kind of hard to get. And so it comes down to you building your own confidence, going after the right agent with the right message. And then it comes down to the value proposition. So don't make the mistake of, putting them at a super high split just to get someone. Don't be desperate. Make sure you hire the right person, because that's going to stunt your growth for other people wanting to come over. If you hire someone who's, got a bad attitude, doesn't communicate and play nice with other agents, we know those types of agents. So make sure you don't hire an agent like that, because they'll end up being like a gatekeeper and you won't be able to get any more to come in. So be real careful with that first hire and make sure that you recognize your own worth and your own value. You're going to put a lot of work into this person, a lot of your time. You're going to take them on appointments with you, with your clients. That's what I would suggest you do. And so just really be careful to make a good hire, and that will start the pump going, and more people will start to come in. They will start to recognize, they'll say, oh, you have such nice agents. And then that just starts bringing in more agents. It starts to snowball. You get better at what you're doing. So I want to give you confidence that it gets better and better as you go. And it's just that first one can be a little tricky, but that's what I would do. So it's easy to do that. Get a list of agents that, maybe just pass their test. However, you can get that. Some states publish it. Sometimes the testing authorities, sometimes the title people have lists, stuff like that. And then otherwise, you can make a list. You can get the stats from your MLS of some agents at other companies that maybe have been there 6 months to a year. And maybe you see that they've made no sales or they've made 1 or 2 sales. And maybe you can go to open houses, meet them on the realtor tour. You can call them, you can send them an email, Facebook message, whatever. I always like to Facebook stalk people a little bit, make sure they don't look too weird and bad attitude and stuff. You don't want to bring negativity in. You don't need to deal with that. So that'll save you a little bit of time. But I would, and then just target those people and just get some conversations, and just know that maybe your first interviews won't be great, but you will get better at them as you go along. And that's the good news. And you definitely can make that first hire. It's just a matter of putting some of those pieces together. Thanks so much for your time. If you like what we're doing here on the channel, feel free to subscribe and like our channel, and we'll see you on the next video.